Hello and welcome to the Sensual Being podcast with myself, your host, Jolene Whiting. I have been a pole dance teacher for nearly 20 years. I'm also a yoga instructor, and my favourite pastimes are connecting to my own sensuality, connecting with the world, and connecting with animals as well. In this podcast, you'll find new and inventive ways of how you see yourself, connecting yourself with others, and also how you see and view the world around you. In this episode, we are going to be talking about freestyle, how we can get ourselves into a vulnerable flow state in our life, and why it's so important to actually try and do it, and why it's so hard. Welcome back to Sensual Being, you sensual being. I hope you are having a wonderful day. Today, I would like to talk to you about freestyling. Freestyle. Now, what do I mean by freestyle? So I'm a dancer, so I mean it in the dance sense, freestyle dancing. You can transfer this to anything, so you can transfer it to cooking, writing, painting. We're going to talk about quite a few things to do with freestyling, why it's hard, but what it can give you if you can let go. And if it was as simple as me saying, do you know what you need to do is just let go, we'd all be doing it. So it's quite hard to do, but it's available for anybody to do. So let's have a look at it. So freestyling, in the terms that I'm talking about, is not following choreography, not following a routine, not following a structure as such, not following a recipe. So freestyling is learning to be able to let go to find your own flow. So for example, if everybody just followed the same recipes all the time and never deviated, we wouldn't have any new food or like menus and things. So to be able to put your creative flair into something is highly important. And it's okay if you want to follow the recipe, if you want to follow the choreography, that's also okay. You can do that, but there's something more that you can get, that you can get this. You don't have to be a special different person. You already are that special person, so you can do this too. So we are so caught up in our heads. If we don't know what's coming next, it can feel quite vulnerable. It can feel quite scary. Sometimes when people are dancing, for example, they feel, it's almost like people feel they can see their thoughts. So if they're dancing and they're thinking, I have no idea what move to do next, I suddenly have no idea of any moves, anything I've ever been taught, anything that I've learned is all gone in that moment. Sometimes the beat kicks in and it's loud and just your head goes whoop, suddenly no skill, nothing. But that's what your head is doing. Your body, however, is moving. And that's what you want to tap into in this sense. So finding your freestyle, like I say, can be quite vulnerable because you feel like everybody's watching you and then you feel like everybody's judging you. And do you know what? The only person judging you at that point is you. If you feel like, I probably shouldn't put that into my recipe, that's not going to make it very good. The only person judging that is you. You won't know what's going to happen until you've finished and you've cooked it and you've eaten it and you think, actually, that was amazing. I'm going to do that again and I'm going to do this. And there's your freestyle. But you have to be willing to be vulnerable. And this is something this is survival. We don't want to be vulnerable. If you're vulnerable, if you're the antelope in the wild that's vulnerable, you'll get eaten by a lion. So our survival state will kick in. Our ego state will kick in. Your ego is there to protect you. But what we've got to remember is there's a lot of stuff we don't need protecting from. There's some stuff we do, but there's a lot of stuff we don't. So you don't need to be protected when you're having a dance. You can just let yourself go. So learning that part of it, just to know that actually that's why your brain is doing the games that it's doing. It's saying these things that don't mean anything. You can learn to let them go because now you know why they're there. And respect to your brain, very kind of it to try and look after you. But there's times when we can go, nope, I'm good. I'm just going to see what happens. And whenever we do our freestyles in class, I always say, whenever you forget stuff, that's when the magic happens. If you follow the same choreography all the time, you're never going to find your new pathways of how your body wants to link things together. Okay? So this is why it is really good if you can actually try and do this. So it's abstract, it's obscure. You could even argue that some painters are very obscure. I mean, Picasso, what structure did he follow? None. But like, he's renowned for what he did. And I would argue that even like watercolor painting is quite freestyle because there's no definite lines. It's all merged into each other, kind of like a rainbow. So you could argue that there's a freestyle in that type of thing. And sometimes, like when I've been writing, I'll just sit down and I'll just write. And I don't have anything in mind, or I don't have a pattern or anything. And I just write. And I just see what comes out. And I'm not necessarily talking about journaling. I mean, like, actually, if I'm writing a story, sometimes I just start from wherever I want. Some people say you've got to start from the beginning. No, you start from where you want to start from. If that's the beginning, fine. If it's halfway through, if you want to write the end, then that's fine too. I mean, how many books have you read that actually start with the end? So it's very common to do it your own way. And that is the beauty of life, is to find your own way. Now, with freestyling, there is a certain amount of skill learning involved. Admittedly, not with everything, but yeah, probably with everything as well. So I was going to say with writing, there probably isn't, but yes, there is. You've had to learn your language. You've had to learn to write and read and use the language that you want to use. So there is a certain amount of skill. You're not going into it blind. So you wouldn't just go into a class and yep, we're going to dance now. You'd be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But arguably, in my beginner pole classes, in our explorer classes, they do actually dance straight away. So what we do is we warm up, but I give them 4 basic moves. So one of them is walking around the pole. The other move is moving your hips in a circle, and another couple of really basic moves. And then we put on a song, and it's like, just dance with those. Because there is freedom in constriction. So if I said to you, you could make anything in the kitchen for me, make anything you want, you might be like, what, a dessert or a main or a starter? Do you want a snack? Like, what do you mean? But if I said to you, I really like bananas, and I'd really like a pudding, and then you can start to think, okay, yeah. And then because you've got that constriction, you don't need to think too much, and you can just play with that particular bit of the area that you're going to do, like the cooking, for example. And if I said to you, I want you to write me a story, you might be like, well, like, how long, or like what's it about? If I said to you, I want you to write me a story, no more than about a page, it can be less, be a bit more if you want, and I want it about 2 characters that get a pony, and then one of them falls off and they have to make it back from wherever they were. I want you to write a story about that. Suddenly you've got a guide. Yeah. So there isn't choreography as such, but there's like a freedom in the constriction. So there's this balancing act with your freestyle and how you do it. So you might have like, well, I'm just going to play with these moves and see what happens. I might just play with these ingredients or these colors and see what happens. But you will have a certain skill set already. But finding how things fit together for you, your mood, your body, your tastes, your feels, all of it is very relevant and personal to you. So with freestyle, just know that it's okay and you're safe. It's okay to be vulnerable. Nobody can see your thoughts. Yeah, no one can see them. No one is judging you. The only person judging you is you. And I promise you can let that go, because you don't need to judge yourself. No one else is judging you. And if you ever found they were judging you, send them to me, because I'll talk to them. I'm going to love and leave you there. I hope you got some tidbits from it. I just remembered I did have one more thing. So if you're not a particularly creative person, but maybe you're a more logical person, and maybe you're somebody who has like a to-do list, yeah, you can freestyle with this. Oh, you're going to be like, no. So if you have a day when you don't have a to-do list, and you might find, it'd be interesting to see what your head does. So you might find that you abolish your list on a day and you're like, I had all those things to do, but do you know what? Yes, I'm going to go to the park with you. I'm going to spend time with loved ones. I'm going to visit a friend and have some quality time together. It'd be interesting to know if you can lose yourself in that state, or are you going to be judging yourself for the fact that you didn't get anything done that day? So you can tap into the freestyle aspect, even if you're not a particularly creative person. Everybody is creative in their own way. But if you're not, if you don't have these other skill sets that you think, well, I don't know if I do that, you can tap into it if you're somebody who likes to have a to-do list, and see how you feel when you abolish the list. So I'm definitely going to love and leave you there. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and remember to lead through your life with your heart and to live with intention. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, please do share it with your friends and on social media. If you have the time to rate or review this podcast, I'd be ever so grateful. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, you can find me at Jolene Sensual Being. The links to my YouTube and to sign up to my mailing list will be in the show notes as well. I look forward to speaking with you again very soon.